Scott Goldsmith, and I'm here this evening with James Hargis, the chef and owner of the Blind Mule at Toxaway Station. Good evening, Chef. It's good to see you.
You too, Scott.
Of course, we've known the Hargis family for years, and so we've been fortunate enough to eat James cooking on multiple occasions, and of course we come here a lot. We love the food. He's got a background in the culinary arts that won't quit. Chef, tell us about your training, your background.
I started at 15 in the restaurant business, washing dishes. Then worked through school, and then during the summer I worked for my father delivering beer. And that's how I paid for college. I went to a small culinary school in Ohio. After I graduated, I went to Europe. I got a job in a 1 Michelin star restaurant and worked, did fine dining French cuisine at the time. I was there for about 10 months, and then I went to a 2 Michelin star restaurant. On my days off, I was going to other restaurants and when I was at the 1 Michelin, and then decided if I can get more education out of it, because I didn't know how long I'd be there. I only had a 1-year visa. I thought I was going to run out, and I ended up landing a job at the only 2 Michelin star at the time, because Michelin rewarded stars different back in the 80s. I worked at the 2 Michelin star for a short period, for about 8 months, and then my visa was up, so it was time to go. Then I moved back to Chicago, worked at it was considered the best restaurant in America at the time, Lake Toxaway, in Wheeling, Illinois, and worked there for a while. And the chef quit, so I moved to San Diego. All to say that it was all fine dining up until I had a chef tell me one time that if you wanted a day off, go work in a club. So when I met Carole, I was at a little French restaurant in Greenville, about the same size as this. Decided to take a job at a club when she sold the restaurant. I ended up in Europe again, and then came back again, and ran Trillium up in Cashiers for 8 years as the executive chef and food and beverage director, and then decided, well, maybe I'll give it a shot, try it on my own, see what happens.
Well, it certainly has been pleasant for us. Your culinary training and your background certainly reflects in your food.
I appreciate it.
Very, very unique flavors, always excellent. We've never had anything bad here. Speaking of which, tell us about your menu. And I know you rotate fairly often, and of course you have a wide variety of things. So tell us about the menu in general, James.
Yeah, well, being a fat guy, I like to eat. So it's for me. I don't like the same. I'm not going to have Taco Tuesday at my house. I'm not going to have spaghetti every Sunday. I'm going to eat what I want to eat. So when I write my menu, I write the menu with eclectic choices. Everything fresh. I try to buy all the local stuff I could possibly buy. We get trout from Andrews, North Carolina. I buy some local chicken. Seafood's always a tough one. They say 400 miles is considered local, so you can get a lot of stuff off the Carolina coast. You can always get soft shell crabs when they're in season, which I love running those because that's one of my favorite things to eat. And I'll do everything from Indian to Thai to sushi to barbecue, Korean barbecue, whatever I feel like having for the week. I know I'm going to eat something, so I try to change it up a little bit. And we try to do quite a bit of small plates, just so that we can have, some people. I like to go to a restaurant and just order appetizers because there's always a variety of different stuff and different flavors, and that's what I'm always looking for. So I try to do that here, and I'll run 6 or 7 appetizers, and then I think I have 5 entrees or 6 entrees. Like my wife's, she does the chalkboard, so she's working on the chalkboards now. But I really enjoy doing just a variety of different types of cuisine, just because that's what I want to eat. When I don't go to the same restaurant every time I go out. I go to different restaurants all the time just because I want to try different stuff.
And that's one of our favorite things about coming here, because there is such a variety. And when you, excuse me, when you do come in, of course, you have some old favorites. Mine happens to be the killer chocolate cake. And James makes a cake that you got to come. It's worth the drive up here, which incidentally, you're only 16 miles out of Brevard. Consequently, you can be here in just a few minutes, and believe me, it's worth the drive. And we do know that the season is about to begin, and I guess if you could tell us a little bit what your schedule is going to be, how that works.
Currently, we're doing, we're open all year round. We're one of the very few that's open all year round up here in Lake Toxaway. And so we do Thursday, Friday, and Saturday dinner only currently, and that usually starts around end of November, middle of November, and then we go all the way through until beginning of April. Then beginning of April, second week of April, we will open for we do like an internet cafe in the morning where we have like a light breakfast, muffins, bagels, New York bagels. I bake the muffins. We do breakfast sandwiches. I use Pisgah Roasters coffee. It's the local coffee guy, Jotham, down there off of 280. He actually roasts 2 different flavors just for us. That's not on the list that he sells in Ingalls now. He's actually in Ingalls.
Wow.
But so then we'll do lunch, and lunch will be like a light lunch at first. The real season up here is Memorial to Labor, so we'll do a light lunch, like wraps and salads, stuff like that, very simple stuff, maybe 1 or 2 specials, hot specials, and then once Memorial starts, then or hits, we do a full breakfast, or full lunch, and we'll close from 2 until 5, and then we'll reopen at 5 o'clock. And you have to realize that the reason I close that period is because I'm the guy cooking, so if I'm not here, the restaurant's closed. My sons will help me out. They'll make pizzas and salads and a few appetizers,
right.
Which I'm grateful for. But pretty much it's me back in the kitchen the whole time. So I might not get out to say hello, but my wife will talk to you. She's more than happy. She's a little nicer than I am.
Well, we're grateful that you do all the cooking, believe me. That's one of the things that brings us here. And as James has already alluded to, the Blind Mule is family owned and operated. James' wife, Carole, is also a big part of the business here, and the 3 boys. Everybody works, and of course it reflects in the hospitality shown when you come here. As a matter of fact, Cherie is going to take a few minutes and talk to Carole about her end of things and probably a story about the Blind Mule. So we're going to turn that over to them. Chef, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you coming.
And we've enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Hello, this is Cherie Goldsmith, and I'm here with Carole Hargis. Hey, Carole, how are you doing today?
Doing great.
Good, good. Carole and I go back a long way. We used to homeschool together. She has 3 boys. I only have 1, but we have been involved in a lot of activities together and just have a great friendship that's gone on for a long time. Carole is going to tell us a little bit about the Blind Mule. Why that name? So why did you guys come up with the name Blind Mule?
Well, in 2016, when we were getting ready to open the restaurant, we were learning a lot about this area, having lived in Brevard for a while at that point, but not being as familiar with the Toxaway area. We read about the history of Toxaway and this particular location having been the train depot back in the late 1800s that supported the lumber industry for the area. And so we thought that was very interesting. And we also learned about the story of the dam break of 1916, which was when the original lake, just across the street from us, rebuilt now. The original lake and dam had been built for the purpose of building the Toxaway Inn. That was a really great draw in the early 1900s for people to come and visit this area. They would come by train and then travel by stagecoach over to the Toxaway Inn and enjoy a stay. And so all of that was going great and really strong. And then in 1916, there was a flood that was caused by a storm system that came over this area, did a lot of devastation in Asheville and other places. And here it put pressure on the dam that already had a weakness. And sadly, on August 13th, 1916, the dam broke and the entire thing went over the Toxaway Falls and drained the lake very quickly. So thankfully they had warned everybody downstream, sent the word out that people needed to get out of the way because of the weakness in the dam. And so there were no lives lost, no human lives.
Good.
But there was one reported casualty, and it was a blind mule.
So that's where the
So
story
that's
comes
where
from.
the story comes from, and that story has been passed down through the generations in this area as part of the history here, since that was such a significant event that really changed this community from being a real booming area where people were coming to visit all the time to suddenly not having that source of income in the economy. So it was a big change, but we also love the idea that in Southern literature, mules are symbols of strength
Okay.
and resilience.
I didn't know
so
that.
it has a happy ending, we feel, because in the 1960s, some investors came and decided that this was a place that was worthwhile to rebuild. And so they have really worked hard to make this community a wonderful place to visit and stay and play again. And so we are excited that we get to be a part of that. And so we see the mule as a symbol of resilience and strength and how a community builds back from a really devastating event.
Very good, Carole. It reminds me when you say strength and community, it reminds me of your family. And, I've known your boys since they were very young, and now they're about grown. One has actually gone to New York. Tell us about the boys' part in the restaurant. What do they do?
So our oldest son, as Cherie mentioned, has already flown the coop, I guess, and gone off to college, but he has continued to work with us when he has time available and visits. He first worked in the kitchen with my husband as his support back there, and then he moved to the dining room a couple years ago when he turned 18. And so he also serves with us in the dining room when he's here.
Good.
And then our middle son, who's now 17, has also started training to work in the dining room after several years of being back in the kitchen, helping my husband there as well. All right,
Sorry
so
about
our
that.
youngest son, who is now 14, started with us when he was only 11. And so when we first opened the restaurant, we had him work at the door. He wasn't quite old enough to help in the kitchen yet, so he served as a host and greeted people at the door and was so professional about it. People still ask about him today and request him, and he was wonderful at selling desserts. Nobody could pass up a dessert being described by a cute 11-year-old.
Oh, of course, of course. Well, we didn't even need the 11-year-old to sell us on the dessert. The first time we came up here, Carole asked if we'd like dessert, and we said no, because we usually don't do dessert. That's changed. But she brought us a complimentary piece of the chocolate killer cake, and ever since that, we get it every time we come, even if we take it home with us. So it's a must. So Carole, we really appreciate you and James sitting down with us today. Is there anything
Gladly.
that you would like to talk to the audience about before we close?
Sure.
Okay.
And just to invite anyone who has not visited us yet to please come and see us here at the Blind Mule. We really enjoy welcoming guests and telling you about the history of this area and sharing the natural beauty that's here. We sit right across from Lake Toxaway, and we're one of the only places that you can dine and enjoy views of the lake. So please come and join us. We would love to share our hospitality with you.
And you will not be disappointed. And I'm sitting here looking at the lake now.
It's
beautiful.
Even on a cloudy day.
That's right. Thank you, Carole.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Wonderful to see you too.
Okay.
Great.